Imagine we met at a bus stop. It's January, Saturday, in the once bustling centre of a Midlands town. We've never met before. It's raining, of course. You've missed your bus. So I offer you a seat, you lay down your bags, and we chat for a while in the shelter. After a minute or two, I'll point to this badge and say, by the way, I'm Gabriella Gay, a mother, a teacher, and the founder of Stoke's Roaming Poets. We're a group of writers who take to the streets to share our passion for poetry. So I believe in the power of the written and spoken words, in true connection, and in writers who seek out unusual spaces to work. So today, at this bus stop, I'm going to perform one of my poems for you. This poem was written to encourage people young and old to explore urban green spaces. You know, escape from landscapes and their smartphones and explore the secret landscapes hidden from plain sight. It's published here in green for positivity and growth. It's called In Feral State. And it goes like this. Let us be in feral state on a rainy day where adventures don't stop. They're simply reinvented. In feral state where we journey to the ends of the earth and the other side of the street, where lost wildernesses are chanced upon or uncovered, and empty landscapes are filled with promise. In feral state, no landscape is too daunting, no derelict building too haunting. Chalk covers red brick like cave paintings, and ferns like fossils climb the walls. We hunt for nature, stalk for things to play, and find good things that we can use to take away. We cloak ourselves in wind and rain and create with berry-smeared cheeks and dirt beneath our fingernails, and clay is tamed by our hands so we can make something magical. Listen, they say that silence is golden, but peace of mind is green. And as we grow, that wild child is not lost, but a vestige hiding in the shadows. So let us stay in feral state, where adventures don't stop, where we journey to the ends of the earth and the other side of the street. So you may clap, or you may laugh or smile or ask questions. Or maybe like the many people who I work with in Stoke-on-Trent, you might share a little something of yourself with me too. You know, a poem, a story, a song, or, you know, a little fragment of your life. You may say in your own language, and I'll listen in closely until the bus comes, you all get on and leave. And that does happen. My whole audience gets on the bus and leaves. When people ask me what my job is and I say that I'm a poet, there's often a really long pause as they kind of try and work out, what exactly does a poet do? Like, how can creative writing benefit society? And I see them, picture me at a desk, alone, writing with a quill feather, by the light of a candle. And I do sit at my desk and write alone, write commissioned poems, or I prepare for workshops, or I plan for events or performances. And like many other poets in the 21st century, I might collect with an audience online by sharing some of our work on social media, whether that be in video or written form. But one of the most rewarding roles that I undertake as a poet involves me going into my community and working as a writer in residence of really unusual, overlooked spaces. So you're probably secretly wondering, what is a writer in residence? Like, You're not alone. Many people do. So a residency is a period of time that a writer or artist spends working in a place. And this can be for weeks or months or even years. And yes, it is funded, it's paid for, sometimes by the host organization or community. Sometimes you might find two writers with complementary skills, or you might find a writer and a visual artist working in residency together. So on residency, a poet like me might write about the community. I'll design writing workshops and basically demystify poetry and poets. So there's the benefits of having a writer in residence are really well documented in terms of the creativity that writers inspire, the new perspectives, increased literacy, health, well-being, and there's a really long list of potential places that writers can work in residency. So think museums, banks, prisons, libraries, bookshops, supermarkets, schools. And what I'm really interested in is those non-traditional spaces. You know, the places that are often overlooked, that people don't even think about. Think a chip shop, or a football ground, or a park bench, a laundrette, or in my case, a row of bus stops, or an estate agency, or a community car boot sale. You know, I think it's really important for us to go and work where people are, even if it means I'm outside in the cold, in January, and it's snowing sometimes as well. You know, I really like working out on the streets where I get to listen into people, to write, and to really make kind of meaningful connections with people that don't often consider themselves to be creative. Plus, there's lots and lots of opportunities to publish work in unusual and creative ways. So recently, in response to a commission by Art City in Stoke, I worked with an estate agency. And, you know, I have to say that people always think, well, moving is one of the most stressful things you can do in your life. And estate agents have a really bad reputation in England. I see them more as agents of change, put a bit more of a positive spin on it, I suppose. So we talked to loads and loads of people, and I published a series of poetry flyboards on the streets of Stoke. A visual artist created an exhibition in the window of the estate agency, and a musician made a series of public doorbells. Each of these worked with words in an unusual and creative way. To create these poetry flyboards, I talk to people at a point of change, often in their homes. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but England is at a point of change. And Stoke-on-Trent, which is quite well known for the pottery industry and for cheesy Staffordshire oatcakes, is at a point of change too. One of these poems was written by the owner of an oatcake shop who was having to close his doors after 30 years. He wrote about what it felt like to move from waking up at 5 a.m. every morning and being able to predict his takings to the penny, to having to embrace a new sense of freedom and choice. So this is his poem here. It's a Diamante poem, and the middle line is the point of change. I'm going to share it with you twice, and I often do that actually, because very, very few people, including myself, can interpret and understand the different layers of a poem from hearing it once. So this is his poem. Locked. Wasted square. Dragging, ticking, planning. Rigid key time wonder. Embracing, surprising, flowing. Sunset choice opened. Locked. Wasted square. Dragging, ticking, planning. Rigid key time wonder. Embracing, surprising, flowing, sunset choice opened. So his poem was published on the railings outside of a regenerating pottery factory where it could be read and seen repeatedly. So if you look up writer in residence in the dictionary, you'll still find a definition which says something like a writer attached to a university, a college, a community, or an organization. Or they may say something like a writer who takes up a temporary post in an academic institution in order to share their insight. For me, being a writer in residence is less about me attaching myself to a community, but becoming part of it. I don't just go and share my poems, but I listen to the voices and stories of the communities that I'm working with. And I try to make a difference. You know, I often say to lots of other writers that they should go and work in these unusual spaces and just at least once in their career. Just, go and speak to the manager of that car wash or, that market block and see if they will host you. Imagine if there was a writer in residence at most places. What difference can writers make? See, I think that they have the potential to make a massive difference, really, because words and poetry and writing creatively can be so beneficial and really very powerful. So I'll share with you one of these stories. It was the second week into my role as the writer in residence at Hanley Car Boot Sale. It was January. It was early in the morning. It was raining, of course. And I was roaming, and I was kind of getting buyers to write about their bargains and encouraging sellers to talk about the personal histories of the objects that they were now letting go of, when I heard a really loud noise. And I spotted a young woman crying and shouting, "Sapphire's been taken from the car." The shock and the words spread through the market like a forest fire. And soon everyone was searching for this lost puppy, a German King Shepherd cross, what she'd been given for her 21st birthday present. She'd only left the car for a few minutes, closed but unlocked to get herself a drink. A man turned to me and looked me straight in the eye and said, "So you're the writer, what can you do?" In all honesty, I'm not really a pet person. I was a little bit scared of dogs and cats. But I went home and I thought about that puppy. I thought about, what can words and poetry do to help? It took me about 20 minutes or so to kind of realize that poetry had something different to offer than the journalist who wrote a newspaper article or the car boot manager who could offer a substantial reward. So I went to see that young woman still heartbroken from the loss of her puppy, and together we wrote a poem to go on this lost dog poster. You know, the poem that she wrote was really simple yet beautiful in the way it talked about her love for that dog. So the posters went up, and whenever I was on the radio or in local venues, I performed it in the hope that Sapphire and her owner would be reunited. So this is a poem. It uses a little bit from a song. It's called Sapphire. She'd always fall asleep in my arms, walk with me or play in the house, hide in the airing cupboard to escape being dried after her bath. I can't sleep now she's lost. I cling to teddies and dream. She'll be returned to me soon, my missing part of the family. Looking at her dad here is like looking at Saf again. And when I feel most sad, I listen to her favourite song, Nightingale by Demi Lovato. I can't sleep tonight, wide awake and so confused. Everything's in line, but I am bruised. I need a voice to echo. I need a light to take me home. I kind of need a hero. Is it you? You can imagine how much I screamed when months later the lost puppy was found. And in some small way, poetry was able to help. After that residency, I have to confess that I quite like dogs and cats. And you know what? I think they like me too. Thank you.